What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is the Dingo Talk Alumni Tour. My guest this week is Shon Meale, class of 1996. Sean's going to tell us everything about how he got to Bethany, his time with the national championship soccer team of 1994, and him moving back to England and what he's doing now. But without further ado, this is Shon Meale.
You wanna know by now. You wanna know by now. You wanna know by now. You wanna know. You wanna know. You wanna.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is the Dingo Talk Alumni Tour. My guest this week is Shon Meale. Meale?
Meale.
Got it right?
Yeah,
Got it
Meale,
right.
that's fine.
Class of 1996. Shon, thank you for being with us. And where are you?
Well-
Where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from Norwich, Norfolk, which is on the east coast of England. It's about 160 miles northeast of London. So it's a long journey to London, as opposed to someone like you guys. You know, a 3-hour drive is no problem, but 3 hours back here is woof,
A
too
little
far.
different.
It's funny. It's the comparison, you know.
So now, is that where you are originally from?
That is where I'm originally from. Yeah. I came back. Eventually came back. You know, I suppose home calls you back sometimes, doesn't it? And you know, my roots is here, and you know, I'm pleased to be back here. You know, I wish to lived a double life in a way. You know, and it sort of kept on after Bethany, and you know, maybe did a bit more there. But you know, life tends to take you different ways, and Bethany does help you get to find the path that you want to do. You know, it teaches you skills, gives you skills. You know.
So how did you make the journey across the pond to here to this little corner of West Virginia to play soccer?
Well, do you know what? I don't think a lot of my old classmates know this true story about what happened, to be honest with you. So this may be fairly new to a lot of people, because where I lived, I grew up on a pig farm. They knew I grew up on a pig farm. That was a part of a joke, you know. And so I'm in the middle of nowhere where I live here in Norfolk. And I was at what they call sixth form college, which is like your junior college, I believe, because we graduate from high school when we're 16.
Okay.
Then we go on to what we call sixth form college, and you do 2 years of education there. And I was doing those 2 years of education there, which was 89 to 91. And I was similar to Dave Wyby. You had Dave Wyby on, didn't you, a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I was similar to him in terms of I didn't really focus on my studies at all. I was over here. Every village, every town has a football pitch or soccer pitch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that soccer is the sort of the blood sport in this country. And so I was playing football everywhere, you know, every weekend, 2 games on the weekend, even in the midweek, 3 games a week sort of thing when I was younger. And so I didn't really focus on my studies. But you know, I was at sixth form college, and at a bizarre coincidence, I bumped into a PE teacher, and she had this letter, a photocopy of a letter saying, if you got these grades and had played at county level at your sport, you could go to America. I was like, okay, I'll look into this.
Of course.
And it was random. And there was a company called College Prospects of America. And you know, going back in the 90s, early 90s, we didn't have internet and all that kind of stuff. They would draw up a 2-page profile, which they'd fax round to all the colleges and universities in America. And you had to pay to do that, though.
Yeah.
You know, and I still remember the conversation with my father in our living room saying, "Hey, look, if I'm going to pay for this, I'm going to do it. I promise you, I will do it." And so we set up this profile, and this was like I said, in 91, and we didn't know how long it was going to take and what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, I started getting these envelopes come through the post, and I started. A college, Boca Raton in Florida, I think. Is that right? Is it Florida? Yeah. One in Mobile, Alabama, and one in Wisconsin. You know, I ended up having a map on my wall in my bedroom, and I was pinning these pins onto America, and I had over 30 colleges write to me. I didn't know what Division 1 was. I didn't know what Division 2 was. I couldn't go on Google and look at what does the NCAA. Yeah. I didn't know what it meant. So there was a lot of naivety there. And so I'm putting all these pins in, and I get one from Bethany College, and I actually get a phone call from JC, John Cunningham, fantastic. And I spoke to him, and we had lots of conversations over the sort of the spring of '92 and going through into the summer. I'd left sixth form college by this time. I was a lifeguard. I was doing soccer coaching and things like this. And all of a sudden, I had to do my SATs test. That was another thing I had to come over. So I had to go to the US Air Force Base, a US Air Force Base in Norfolk. There's one in Norfolk. And I had to drive to that, go through the security, do my SATs test. Didn't know what the hell else. Had some practices of them. Got some, JC sent me some, I think. So I did some practices of that and got my SAT score. Don't think it was very good. I can't really remember.
It was good enough.
It was good enough. Yeah, it was good enough. That's right. And lo and behold, JC kept talking to me. There was two other colleges. I can't remember which ones they were, but there was a couple of still, but they weren't as which is, I can't think of the word to describe it really, but appealing. That made you feel at home. And JC was brilliant. He said, "How you doing?" He'd bring him up, "How's it going?" Blah blah blah. And of course, I'm still playing football, etc. And all of a sudden, we get to August, and he's going, "Look, are you coming? I need to know if you're coming. You need to get a visa." Blah blah blah. And so, you imagine going back into '91. I get that photocopy of that letter, and it slowly builds and builds and builds. And all of a sudden, I can still remember the 1 week before I flew over. On a Monday, my mum and I took the train down to London, and which was a big, like, oh my God, we go down to the capital, and we had to go to the embassy, get my visa. I was 19, and Mum's like, it's like, what are we doing? And she could, can I come in with you? No, you're not allowed. Oh, crikey. So I'm going into the embassy. There's high security, all this kind of stuff. What am I, got interviewed, and what are you doing, why are you going, etc. Came out, and I've still got the picture of me stood with my visa outside the American embassy in London. And then we're like, well, we better look about getting a plane ticket while we're down here. We couldn't go on, flights.com or whatever, So we went around the corner, and we found the British Airways, flight agencies. And we went in there and we just said, right, it's Monday. When's the next flight to Pittsburgh? And they were like, Thursday. You what? Thursday? It's Monday today. Thursday, we've got...
You have to get everything together now.
Yeah. And plus we're in London. So like I said to you at the start, 3-hour drive, 3-hour train ride back, So we went back, and we're late. And so the Tuesday, I'm thinking, I need to go and say goodbye to friends. I'm going to America. What's happening, So off I went and say goodbye. My mum nipped off to the city to get me 2 big suitcases and extra stuff that I could take, and I'm going around saying goodbye to friends. And the next Wednesday, I'm packing stuff because the flight was really early. I still remember it now. We were very early in the morning, and we drove all the way down to Heathrow Airport. And I said goodbye to my parents, and my mum absolutely lost it. She sobbed in her eyes because she's like, when will I see you? You are going off on a plane to America. What's going to happen? So got on the plane, flew over, and I got picked up by Steve Lecco and a Spanish guy. I can't remember, Chino, I think his name was. And they both, JC decided to send them, and they picked me up on must have been a Thursday evening, I think, something like that. And I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing. And I'm talking away, blah, 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 to these guys. I'm sat in the back, they're sat in the front, and I keep seeing them looking at each other. They couldn't understand a word I was saying because I was just rabbiting on because I was so excited. I'd been on the flight. I hardly slept. I landed in the old Pittsburgh airport as well. So, the perception we have of America, it's all lights and glamour and glitz and stuff. And I landed in the old Pittsburgh airport, and I'm thinking,
Wow.
This is this is interesting. You probably don't remember it. Anyway, so I got to the college, and it was the evening, and they said, right, that's your room. Gave me a key, and that was it. And I'm like, I'm in the Moreland dorm, and I haven't got any bed sheets or anything.
You're on your own. It's just
that's it. That's it. You know, just for one night. So I put. I think I'll tell you who was my RA who was there was Sven de Jong. You know Sven?
I know Sven.
Yeah. Good old Sven. I saw him when I came back I came back about 3 years ago in 2018 for the reunion, the 50. So, he was my RA. I think he might have lent me something or other. But you know, next day, one of the guys took me to get some stuff, and you know, I got the stuff I needed. So so that's how I got to Bethany. You know, you just sort of think, little village in the middle of nowhere in Norfolk,
to a little village in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia.
Exactly. And all, but you know, and I still remember having that map in my bedroom, and you know, having like 30 or 40 pins on there of all the, you know, all the way over to California. You know, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know. People said, well, why didn't you go to Florida? You know, and things like that. And it just
that
happened.
Would be a question that I would have asked you. So you got here, and you said that academics, when you were younger, weren't the sole focus. It was more about soccer and getting on the pitch and playing. Was that the same when you got to Bethany, or did you focus on the academics and then the athletics were already, this is what I'm here to do, but I also have to get the degree?
Well, when my football was my massive passion, obviously, and that's part of the reason why I did come back to England. I think is I got there and I thought I'm going to make sure I focus on both. And the way things were set up, the way the education was done, I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it, and so that hooked me because the assessment was good. You know, you got regular assessments quite quickly, and etc. And so that kept me hooked, to be honest with you. And I also kept focused. You know, I kept disciplined. I had to work quite a bit when I was there as well. I had a couple of jobs, so I didn't socialize as much. You know, I've never been a sort of a clan, a group type person. I didn't join a fraternity or anything. I was always with international other students. You know, just that cultural sort of. I think it might have been that cultural link a little bit. But it was funny when I arrived, because obviously I was dead excited about proving myself as a player as well. And the next day, the guys who picked me up took me down the park to see did he have any football boots and can he actually play? You know, and luckily, I proved to them that I could. You know, but I meant to say it. Well, after my journey over. Back then, I couldn't phone up to let my parents know that I've arrived in America.
Did you send them a letter, or
no? I couldn't. You had to get phone cards, didn't you? You had phone cards, AT&T phone cards to
right for the payphones.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. And you had to put in a 10-digit number and all this kind of stuff. And I hadn't sorted that out. And it was a good 2 days later. I think it was like a Saturday or even a Sunday. So it arrived on the Friday. And it was Saturday, and I was in the medical center coughing, and the dentist, the doctor was there checking, having a health, you know, I'm being inspected, and then someone pokes their head in the door. Sean, your mum's on the phone. You know, you want to know if you ever made it? You know, have you made it to America, sort of thing. So I was down the health center after having my trousers dropped down and being checked, and my mum's on the phone. Yeah, I've made it.
I'm here.
Yeah, I am here. Yeah. So, and she'd like phoned the main switch, and they didn't know where I was, and because I didn't have a phone in my room, you know. And eventually, I got all that stuff, you know. And you get yourself disciplined, and you know, you just get on with it, don't you? And you know, I was on my own and such, you know.
Well, so with that discipline, there is your passion. This is one of the I like that we built to this. There's 2 seasons specifically about soccer that I wanted to talk to you about. First one being 1993.
Yeah.
Where I believe there's 4 losses that keep you from the big tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my sophomore year, and I remember the very first tournament we went away, because in my first season as a freshman, I started the very first game. I mean, I got off to the most glamorous start, the best start you could ever get. Football or any sport just shows you how you can go from being in a really good position to being a criminal of the sport. And in the very first game, I still remember we went to OT and I scored the winner. And I'm thinking, and everyone's going mad, and I'm thinking, well, we've really just, didn't know what the situation was. I didn't know. I was very naive to it all. And I scored the winner. And it's like, wow, the Brits come in. And the next game, one of the guys gets sent off, and my weakest link is exposed, and that is my speed. I do not have any speed, and I've never had any speed, and I got exposed big time. And so therefore, from being, doing so well in the first game to the next game being, and I didn't feature much then for my freshman year. Then the sophomore year, sorry, something the reverse happened. Someone got red carded in the very first game. I then got put in the second game. I think I got an assist and a goal, and we were playing the games, getting ready for the next game. And I remember Coach Bill Dennison. I wasn't sort of featuring in the first 11. I went up to him and said, "Hey, what did I do wrong in the first game? In the first game of that tournament?" I scored and assists, etc. He said, "Yeah, good point." He said, and then I played regularly from then. So I was like, phew. And we got to, like I said, 93, and we had a great year, and we couldn't believe it. And of all the people, my mum and dad came over that year. And they actually came over, and I remember the conversation with JC. He met them, and because they hadn't been over, and they were so pleased with the college. They loved the atmosphere. They could see I was so happy there, and they managed to come down. My good friend Steve Lindquist, his parents. They went and saw his parents, stayed with his parents, and then they drove down from his parents in Connecticut all the way down. They had a fantastic journey. They came and stayed for a long time at Bethany, and they were able to see that I was happy. And lo and behold, they never got to see me play out there. And I still remember my mum saying, we've seen him play plenty of times. We don't need to see him play again.
We've done this.
Yeah, we've done that. Yeah, we don't. Who cares? We want to know where he is. And my dad thought it was fantastic as well. And God rest his soul, he passed away in 2010, and I still remember him coming over and loving the college, and getting on well with JC, and JC was fantastic for me, because I spent a lot of the summer times there
working and doing the camps and
because I had to help pay my way through.
Well, so what would you say the biggest difference between that 93 team and that 94 team that got the 94 team to the finals?
Two things. Sorry, I have an English biscuit, by the way, and an English cup of tea. A biscuit's different. It's like a cookie for you. I'd say two things. Team spirit. There was a great bunch of guys, and everyone, and then even Eric Fries spoke about it. Everyone knew they had a role. Everyone had a role in it, and Malay Salah. I mean, what a goalkeeper! Unbelievable goalkeeper. It was fantastic, and we got off to a really poor start of that year. And I still remember, driving back from one of a big loss. I think we lost 4-2 or something like that. And I was sitting near the front, speaking to JC, and I said, we're leaking too many goals. We're hemorrhaging too many goals. And I suggested, we maybe look at a different formation. And we did change it a little bit, and don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but it's just I noticed there was a big difference between US soccer and British English football. There's a big difference. The guys all say it. I was better with the ball in the air because that's our style of play. But also we read the game. The game is completely different. It's paid at 100 miles an hour now. Is completely different again now. But back then, I wasn't a fantastic footballer. I just won the ball and I'd give it to someone else who could do something. That's generally what. And Dowda was one of the guys you could do that with. And so we just had the people in the right places. We had, round pegs in round holes. We didn't have people in the wrong place. And once we got the back five, we almost played with it essentially. And Eric alluded it to, and he talked to you about, we had two holding midfielders, which was me and Eric, and we just complemented each other, and one of us would support, and we went forward, etc. And the team spirit was brilliant. The guys, everyone, a lot of them were juniors as well, which was good, and there was a good cultural sort of ethos in the group. With the Gambians, there's 3 or 4 Gambians in the team, with Malay, Star, and Frankie. And Frankie knew his role, and he would come on and support when someone got injured, and and things like that. And it's just, it was just a really good bunch of guys, And I came over in 2018, like I said, and I was so pleased to see them all. And I was so grateful to see them. And I said goodbye to them 3 or 4 times. And even Dave Farmer said, "Why are you saying goodbye?" So I don't think I'll ever see you again. I don't think I'll ever see you again, because coming over is not that easy,
No,
And
now with everything going on, it's not like you can just get on a plane and come over. There's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah. And I've got a family now, and so if I go on holiday, it's going to go with them,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say can you picture your feelings from the national championship when the final horn goes and you guys know that it's yours?
Well, I mean, I remember the first games that we went to Greensboro. I was shocking. And I remember George Williams saying, we were thinking about dropping you. And then obviously we came and played that home game, that quarterfinal against San Diego. Mm-hmm. And I was the good and the bad, the ugly in that game.
When San Diego at the time is the defending national champion?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I scored in that game. I gave away a penalty. I got booked. And, so I didn't have, but I loved that game, because when we went to penalty shootout, I was one of the penalty takers, and luckily I redeemed myself in one of their penalties, and then we went to John Hopkins to play on that AstroTurf, and we just going, I knew we'd win. I just knew we'd win, and we just played with confidence. Yes, 1-0, but it's the defense. If the opposition can't score, you're going to win, aren't you?
If you put more behind their goalie than they put behind yours, it's a
And when you got Malay in there, it just that confidence oozed through the team, it was strange for me, because playing a football season over there is completely different to playing season, because we play right from August, September, all the way through to April, May. It's this whole season. We don't have the spring season. So I remember spring. Well, where's the football? Where's the soccer? Why aren't we? And I remember I was one of the first people back in the change rooms, and I sat there and thought, "That's it. That's it. That's it. Like Eric, actually." And I didn't realise that he felt like that as well. And the first guy who walks in was Mike Rogers, and he was going, "Yeah, really, fantastic." And I'm thinking, well, I want to play again.
Yeah, I want to go play again.
And it was, so to me, it was just a massive relief that we'd done it, And it was a shame that, because I think we had a good squad for the following season as well. The following year, I think we could have done something, even though we won the ECAC. I think we could have, even though we didn't have Malay, I still think we had a squad that if we'd approached it slightly different, we would have got through again. But we didn't. We went to the ECAC and we won that. So, it was quite interesting, to be
part of
my year.
And
so to think in my sophomore year we didn't make it. 94 we won it, and then we won something different in the 95 season. So it's like I said at the start, as football is like that. You can be top of your game one year, and then the following year the bottom of the game. And believe me, as a Norwich City fan, I know that. And you might not know much about Norwich City, but
I'm a Chelsea fan myself. I didn't know. I didn't think we should get into.
So we
before this.
We got promotion last year to the EPL, as you guys call it, and I don't think we'll last as much this year. We'll probably have to. We've got made some good signs. Who knows? But I go to those games now, and still got that that enthusiasm with football, and having the football at the college was fantastic, and the facilities and the Hogue Bowl was. I just loved that. That was a proper pitch. You don't get many like that. So it was brilliant.
Well, so that's a good place. We're going to take a pause. I'm going to send it to Harry Chambers of the owner and operator of Chambers General Store. If they don't have it, you don't need it. It's a fact. You can still get that on a shirt. You can either order it through Facebook. You can call or if you're in Bethany, stop in the store, get yourself $1 sandwich, a cup of coffee for 50 cents, and pay $10 for a t-shirt. We will be right back. This is Shon Meale, class of 1996. I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is the Dingo Talk Alumni Tour. Harry Chambers, take it away.
You've just watched another exciting episode of Dingo Talk, recorded in the secret lair deep in the hills of Bethany, West Virginia. Let me give a shout out to my man Don over at Maple Shade Outdoor. He's got some great stuff going on over there on YouTube and Instagram. Please make sure you check him out. Also, now available as promised, we have the second edition Bethany, West Virginia Mushroom Capital of the World t-shirts and our Chambers General Store. If we don't have it, you don't need it t-shirts. Available in all sizes. So make sure you stop by the store for a t-shirt, breakfast sandwich, our sausage biscuits and gravy, and make sure to check out those daily lunch specials. Now back to you, Dingo.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is the Dingo Talk Alumni Tour. My guest this week is Shon Meale, class of 1996, national champion 1994. He's the fourth. We haven't released JC's yet, but fourth person that is part of that team that we've had on the show. We left off. We were talking about the soccer experience and the trip across the pond. Now we're going to talk about the trip that is Bethany and that damn test that keeps us all of us alumni have the horror story. Were you a winter comper or a spring comper?
Spring comper.
So you had 1 week and then you went and took the test.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How did your studying go, and how did the test? Obviously, the test worked out, but how did you feel about it?
Well, it's 29 years ago, so I'm trying to, which makes me feel really old. It's crazy. I'm not 29 years ago, 25 years ago. Sorry, I get my maths.
That makes it
I wasn't a maths.
I'm gaining years here, and I don't like that.
Right. So Aaron Squire, who was also on the team, he was a sports management major like me. There wasn't many of us, but it was almost a pathway within sports.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up he had knocked on my door one day and he said, "Okay, can we study together?" And we overtook the little sort of little seating area outside my rooms where I lived in Heritage. Well, we were talking about a minute ago, weren't we? And which is the Alpha Sig house now.
For those who don't know, he's talking about the cubes without, like, the cube sitting area, not the actual rooms. Those of Alpha Sig. And it happened to be the same area that I lived for my time, so I'm very familiar with that area.
So we sat in there, and I got some big poster paper, and we were writing those, and we were pinning that up on the wall, and we spent a whole week together in there. You know, he would come over and we'd sit there and go through it, write it down and put it on the board. And I remember the athletic director at the time was Wally Neal, and I was doing really well with my studies. Like I said, I got on really well. Once I got to grips with the process, I was getting on really well, and my GPA was good. And he said, when you go to the comps, if you get distinction, then we'll not pre-warn you. He said, but if I have a Coke if I open a can of Coke, that means you haven't got a chance distinction. And unfortunately, he said to me, I'm just going to get a can of Coke. And I was like, so no chance of distinction. We sat there and we talked, and it's just a conversation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing was, the thing that let me down was the history of American sport. And they said, you didn't know where things started and how they started. And they said, the only thing we can put that down to is because it's not part of your history, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was, but it was, and I remember, Neil Ogg, he came in and sat in on it. He was, I think he was a Sigma Nu lad who was a young lad on the soccer team. He'd come in, and I think he was a junior by then. And I invited him because he was doing the same degree, and he came in and sat in on it, and it was really good. I think if I remember rightly, Coach Forsty was in there, and it was a great conversation. I don't remember much of it. Coming out and seeing a few friends afterwards, it was difficult to study for it, but we did the right thing the way we studied. And funny enough, I didn't realize how Freeze had studied, and he did something similar, putting posters on the wall. And, maybe it's something, and we talked about it a minute ago in between the bits here. Bethany chooses you. And I think when you look about how the people you've interviewed, for example, when I talk to my friends about you can't describe the hook that Bethany brings. You just can't. My wife even, who's known me since 2000, and when I explain, they roll their eyes at me and make fun of me because he went to America, but it's so good to see the people on here. It's when I come back, it's like you've never left. Everyone just looks older, but
except for Frankie, I'll tell him that he'll get back.
Oh yeah, he definitely looks old. You can tell him that. Don't make him think that he doesn't look older. he needs bringing down that peg or two. Well, I worked with Frankie actually as a coach. I came back in after I graduated. I came back home. I flew straight back to England. I flew into Norwich. For some reason, I brought every single thing home with me. I do not know why. Every single book. I came back with more stuff than I went. And I walked straight into a job. I was so lucky. I walked straight to a job at the University of East Anglia, massive university here in Norwich. Worked in the sports department there. Lucky to walk into that job. Did that for a couple of years. Things didn't work out for me very well in my personal life. I also didn't do very well with football-wise. I broke both my legs playing football here. Yeah, not in the same time. One season I broke the left leg. The following season I broke the other leg. So I didn't have much playing time and stuff like that. And I was a bit of a lost cause. And I contacted JC because I'd been in contact. And he said, well, why didn't you come do the graduate degree? So I came back. I came back to Bethany in 90. I think it was 99 actually. In the end, I think it was the end of the season of 99, because the guys were telling me how well they'd done in 98. So I didn't know. Yeah, that's it. It would have been 99 because most of them had graduated. Yeah. So I didn't know many of the seniors. And I helped coach the team with Frankie. Frankie and I were the two graduate assistants with JC, and it was.
Your second part of your Bethany experience is you come back, you get a master's degree.
Well, no, I didn't. That was the thing. I didn't actually finish it. I came back and I hadn't got a student visa. I couldn't get a student visa in time. And I had to come back to England just as we'd made into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So we helped coach the team through, and we got into the playoffs. And I thought, fantastic, we're in the playoffs. I've got to go back to England. And, I kept in contact on the phone. And I came back in the January, ready to start. And I just didn't feel it. I just didn't. It just wasn't for me. I didn't want to study again. I wanted to still be involved with football. And I was thinking, well, now the spring, I wasn't involved again. Well, what? There's no football. What can I be?
Yeah.
I came back to England, and luckily again, I picked up another job again at the UEA, University of East Anglia, and from there in 2000, I was involved in sport, and now I was a teacher for 11 years as well. So yeah, I came 2 stints at Bethany. The second one didn't work out, but again, that's even in that short period of time. It was only 3 months. It was almost like a home. It was my second home. It helped me almost reset myself, and mentally, and because I said I had some personal issues before I came back in '99. It just helped me reset, and the people, the atmosphere, the ethos of the place. It's almost like a calming shoulder, hand on your shoulder to say, hey, it's okay, and you go again. And I still remember walking around the campus when I was there, during my studies, and saying hello to the lecturers and other students. Even I'd speak to the baseball players and the footballers, and because I was the only Brit on campus for most of the time. So
I was a small place. You're gonna run into these people.
Yeah. But it's a fantastic experience, and the comps were almost just a natural process in a way. Yes, it was scary. Yes, we dealt with it, and Squire did well as well, and he was, I remember us talking about it. We got through together, sort of thing, and that team spirit, and we had that still,
Well, so you bring that up. You also brought up that you did come back for, it was the 50th, correct? It was the 50th.
Yeah, I come back. I've been back twice actually. I came back in 2004 for when I think that was the year we were put into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Yeah. I came back then, and I'm trying to think. I stayed with my mate Steve Lindquist again, and he was in Ohio then, if I remember rightly, Columbus. So I was over for a good week or so then, and we came and stayed at Gresham, where we talked about a little bit earlier, where I used to work a lot. And I came back in 2000, and then the next time was 2018. I just literally flew in for a long weekend. I flew Thursday and came back on a Monday. Literally a whistle-stop tour just to Bethany, and it was
that coming together. Does that, when it happens, is it the same switch? It's like you guys never left each other. It's just,
oh yeah. I mean, it was fantastic to see the team in '94, and I know people harp on about it. It was a great achievement, etc. But that goes back to what that team had. That togetherness, the camaraderie, and that wins you titles. It's like, we've talked about Premiership football here in England. Leicester City won the Premier League. Well, the main reason they didn't have fantastic players. They had some good players. They had some great players, but it was a team spirit, and you could see how that once they got into a winning mentality, and that's what happened with us. Once we got into a winning mentality and that confidence, it rolls. But then you had all the euphoria of the campus as well, congratulating you, and it just, I used to go and have a cup of tea with Dr. Keegan. Whenever I needed a little bit of English time, I'd walk down to his and sit on his porch and have a cup of tea with him, and we'd talk about different, English and British stuff, just to reminiscent in some ways, but it was a fantastic experience, and all just down to bumping into my PE teacher with a photocopy of a letter.
Well, so you bring up that's how you got your experience here in college and getting to play college soccer. If you were talking to a current high school athlete, why Division III? Why shouldn't they look over Division III? here in America?
Okay. Well, first I have to explain them what the Division 3 is, etc., because a lot of them wouldn't understand. But I would explain to them that if you want to have a good balance of what you want to achieve in both your academics and with your sport, because that's what they're going to be potentially going for, I would explain to them, how it sits into the American system, and say, if you want that personal touch, if you want to get that, one-to-one attention sometimes, or if you want to get that guidance or encouragement, etc., look at Division 3. What one friend would refer to it almost like a big fish in a small pond. Do you want to be a little fish in a lake almost, or do you want to be a big fish in a small pond where you will get recognition, where you will get that support? And I didn't know all these things about Division 3 colleges and it was just by chance. After all, playing a soccer game at Penn State and walking into that stadium when we played a game there once, 90,000 seats. Yeah, it's huge. I might be right. It might not have been Penn State, but whichever way it was nice.
There was a big stadium.
Yeah, it was a big stadium, and you sort of think you can't comprehend that, especially as a British person, and I think it would, if they were going there to play as soccer, for example, or even in another sport, I'd certainly explain to them that the atmosphere, the experience that they would get. And Division 3 it wasn't a consideration for me, Division 3, Division 2, or Division 1. I didn't understand what it meant.
Yeah.
And now I see it, I go, well, it's a no-brainer. You've got that experience, you've got that personal touch, and it's a great experience for someone to get there.
And then lastly, on as this tour comes to an end today, why Bethany?
Well, it goes without saying, the education you get, the people, it's the people that make Bethany. I stayed there many summers, and it would, people would think it was like a ghost town, but you would walk through the town and you'd still see people sitting on the porch that you'd recognize, and you'd stop and say hello. Mm-hmm. Not only that, you'd see faculty around, even during the summertime. So, I saw Bethany at different stages of the season, different seasons, through different times when, in the winter sometimes, I had to stay there until I could get a lift somewhere, or to get back to England, to get a lift to the airport or whatever. And the other students who come to there were so receptive, and so many of them, I think I must have had 3 Christmases at 3 different houses, I think, and Thanksgiving as well. And I got the great experience of staying in some West Virginia house, or somewhere in Pittsburgh or whatever, or even in Maryland with Matt Wybe. I remember going and staying with him for a spring break or something like that.
Shameless plug. We got Dave. Matt, come on, man. We need to get you on the show now.
Yeah,
you got the Wybe. We need the other Wybe.
Well, that's funny because Matt, he was a senior he was a junior in my senior year, and I went and I've seen Dave and Aaron, who is well, obviously I don't think Aaron went to Bethany, did he? But Dave did, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Dave, looking at him now, I remember when he was, I think when I went round, he was only about 9 or 10. So it's quite different seeing him now and seeing him when I came back in 2018. And that is the trouble. One thing I do regret, I wish I'd kept in touch with people more. Life goes quickly, doesn't it, sometimes? And you think, I was even talking to my mum the other day about JC, I must give him a call and have a chat with him, because, and we did do actually, during the lockdown, we had a little Zoom chat together, and there was 4 or 5 of us came on there, Mike Rogers, Aaron Squire, JC, and I'm trying to think who else came. Oh, JC Catherine, the guy who filmed. I think he was the other one who came on. And it was again like old times.
Nobody misses a beat. Just right back to
yeah. And that is the beauty of Bethany, and it's not just the football guys. There was other people as well, and I know I keep harping on about the football, etc. But the whole experience, the whole atmosphere, and just the general friendliness of people, walking down to the post office into my post box, I was getting stuff from my nan. I was getting, it was just they recognize you as soon as you walk in. Oh, how you doing, Sean? Oh, you've got something too big to fit in your box today. We've got it here for you, and just everyone knew you, and everyone was always polite. We had lots of fun in terms of, some of the things that, the cultural differences sometimes, we talked about going down to Bubba's and playing pool, for example. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a game called Snooker here, and it's a similar game. You obviously hadn't heard of Snooker?
Nope, no.
Now you need to Google that later. You need to Google Snooker. It's on a bigger table. The pockets are smaller, just like pool, but different rules. And so I used to play Snooker here. So when I went down to the Bubba's and used to start playing pool, the pockets were like buckets to me. So I used to hustle one. There used to be a local guy used to come in. I used to hustle him for a couple of quid now and again, a couple of bucks coming down. He used to stop playing me because I used to always hustle a few dollars off him, and it became a joke in the end. But there's little things like that, and it's great memories, great times, and I'd do it all again. It's such a fantastic place, and like I said, talking to people here about it, they go, "Oh, he's talking about America again." And even I've got the championship video in here, and there's the joke. Oh, have you seen it yet? No. Yes, I've seen it. No, you haven't. So it's nice to actually talk to someone who appreciates it, and hopefully, if people do watch this, they'll get in contact, and and hopefully I can have a chat with them again, because there's some fantastic people, and in all walks of faculty to the students, even the catering and cleaning staff, mm-hmm. Because I worked during the summer times and at Gresham.
You know them as well.
I got to know them as well, and there was always the joke, so it was good. The Brit, as I was known as, I was called the Brit.
Well, Sean, I want to thank you for continuing, because you've contacted me multiple times about the show. You've been a huge support through most of this. So thank you for watching. I'm glad that we finally got you on. This has been Shon Meale, class of 1996. I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is the Dingo Talk Alumni Tour. Make sure you hit like and subscribe here on YouTube, and we will see you next Thursday at 10 a.m. Chuckleheads.
You wanna know by now. You wanna know by now. You wanna know by now. You wanna know. You wanna know.